Good afternoon. Today's meal is the sort of dish you would find in an old Italian farmhouse, and it's broken down into 3 stages. Very simple to make, and also not much messing up in the kitchen. All you'll need is a tray, knife and a chopping board. It consists of some vegetables which are homegrown, some vegetables which will come from the supermarkets, and some vegetables which you might have in your cupboard. So, stage one, I've just chopped very roughly some potatoes, also a couple of onions and some carrots. It is important that they are chopped roughly because it is a feature of rustic ingredients and rustic recipes in Italy. So this will go in the oven. I just put a little olive oil, salt and pepper and mix them all up. It'll go in the oven for about 25 minutes at a temperature of 180 degrees if unassisted, 200 if it's a normal conventional oven. I'll come back and I'll show you what I'll do next. With stage one out of the way, I can now focus on stage two, and I'm cleaning some peppers. Important that you remove the white pith, especially in recipes like this where you're roasting your peppers, as if you leave it, actually it will be even more predominant. So just simply go with a knife and remove it like this. But like I just done with my potatoes and the rest of the other vegetables, I'm ensuring that I leave the peppers in nice large chunks. So each half I'm chopping it into 3 pieces, pretty much like this. This is a beautiful head of garlic from our vegetable patch. I just removed about half of the cloves, and all I'll do with these, having just washed them, I'll just give them a gentle crush, but I will retain the shape so that they will release some of the juices as they cook, but they will remain whole when they're finished. And as I've got 20 minutes to spare, I'll get all of my ingredients ready now. So I'm doing stage 3, the tomatoes. These are plum tomatoes, and I'm chopping them in half because they're a little bit harder, but if you were to use cherry tomatoes, you can leave them whole. Today I'm making summer bean and pepper bake with roast potatoes. I did say I wasn't going to mess a lot up, but I wanted to show you what my beans look like, as I will be using 2 different types. I've got cannellini beans and black beans. So I'll drain the liquid in one little bowl over here, and I'm squeezing out as much as I can, as I want them to be relatively dry, but there is no need to rinse them in water, by the way. Just leave them as they are, because actually the water that is inside the tin is actually quite flavorful, and if you were to rinse them you'd lose the flavor. There's one more left. There you go. So there were the cannellini beans, and these are the black beans. And I've got a little lid inside, and I'm pressing it with my hand so that I squeeze as much water out as possible. Then I can empty them with the rest. And here they are, cannellini beans and black beans combined. So this is also stage 3, ready for when the peppers come out of the oven. So I'll wait now for the potatoes and the carrots and the onions to come out, and I can show you what I'll do next. And after 25 minutes, everything should be partly cooked, just like this. You can see that my potatoes have got just a little golden crust on top, and you cannot hear them sizzling anymore because I had to walk back from the house through the garden. But they are partly cooked. So next job is to add my peppers and my garlic. And I'm using 4 different herbs today. Oregano, which is what I'm adding now, a little thyme, and actually using the dry stuff, which I think is better suited for this dish. And in stage 3 I will be using them again, and also some paprika and some chili flakes. I didn't add the oregano and the thyme during the first part, because I think that if they stay in the oven for too long, they burn. Whereas like this, they will release some flavor now, and then I will top it up later. And every time I introduce some new vegetables, I'll top it up gently with a little bit more olive oil. So only add a little, because I will be doing that 3 times. So here's my spatula, and I'll mix them all together, and they will be ready to go back in the oven, same temperature, for a further 20 minutes, and then we can move on to the final stage. And should you wish to make this dish, this is what your vegetables will look like after a further 20 minutes. You can see the peppers are beginning to cook already. So stage 3 next. So tomatoes go in first, followed by my beans. Obviously do ensure that your oven tray is big enough for all of these vegetables. And I did say earlier that I was going to top up my vegetables with more of my herbs, so a little bit more oregano and thyme. and some chili peppers next. So this is the first and only lot of chili peppers. You don't have to put them in, by the way, if you're not too keen. We like them, well, I like them, and Julie not too much, but she doesn't mind as long as I don't go mad. And quite a generous amount of paprika goes next. This is smoked paprika, gives a lovely and earth and deepy flavor to the recipe. I did say a little bit more olive oil in each stage, so I gain a little oil on top. And I'll give everything one final mix to ensure that all of my beans and tomatoes are equally distributed across the tray, and they will be ready to go back in the oven for a further 15 minutes, or depending on the size of your tomatoes, really, until the tomatoes burst and they are beautifully cooked. Obviously the beans are already pre-cooked, so they will not need more than 15 minutes. Also, I wanted to mention that in the last 5 or 6 minutes I will be adding a little piece of this is French stick, which is out of the freezer and is partly cooked, and all I need to do is just to bake it for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'll finish cooking. So that will be the bread I have with this dish, but you can have any rustic bread you like, of course. So I'll see in about 15 minutes. And this is the sort of meal which you can enjoy hot if you have it as a side dish, maybe with chicken or fish or a piece of meat, or you can leave it for 10 to 15 minutes and enjoy it warm as a main meal, which is what we will be doing this evening. Or you can put it in the fridge once it's cooled down, and you can have it a bit like a salad the day after or the day after that. And as it will rest in the fridge, it will get better and better, because all the flavors will continue to marinate. So here is my bread, and I forgot my knife. I'll go and get a knife. If you want to burn lots of calories, do what I do. I have a little kitchen outside in a log cabin. The amount of times that I forget something and have to go back indoors is incredible. Every time I do a video, especially like the knife. And it's mostly an issue when I do something in the oven, because my little oven here is not very powerful, so I use the indoors oven. So anyway, it keeps me fit. I don't know if you ever tried this sort of bread where you buy which is partly baked and then you finish it off yourself at home. It's really nice actually, and I think it's a very good compromise, as you get the freshness of fresh bread, kind of, but also the convenience as you're doing it at home. So I just added a little olive oil and a little oregano on top, so that I can finish with the bread. And I'll move on to my beans now, so let's push this out of the way. This is going to be really hot. Oops, never mind. I finished with a knife. So let's give them one final toss, and everything looks absolutely perfect and cooked to perfection. If I just stab one of the potatoes, which is the likely one to be the problem, but you can see that my fork is going through very nicely. So a couple of things left. Balsamic vinegar, this is a must for me, and if you think about it, you go a blend of different ingredients, and the balsamic will combine and join everything together, and it's lovely and sweet, so I think it will work absolutely beautifully. And lastly, cannot go without my parsley, and this is my frozen parsley. Unfortunately, once again, I have run out of the fresh stuff, so I'm using the frozen stuff, which is very good anyway, so as much as you like. You can also, instead of using, oops, we don't want any eyes, instead of using parsley, you can also use basil, of course, but I think parsley most probably marries better with this. So one final mix, and I'm ready to test it and let you know what this is like, especially with the addition of the balsamic. So here's some bread. I'm gonna pinch a few beans, as this is about the beans. By the way, some people add olives or capers or both. Personally, I don't think it's necessary, because this dish is about the beans and the combination with everything else. And sometimes if you have too many ingredients, then it loses the authenticity of what it's supposed to be, and it dilutes the taste too much. So I think like this is perfect. But add olives and add capers if you like. You get two waves. Initially the tomatoes, as soon as you start crunching on the beans, they're really delicious, and these are just tinned beans. You can of course use your own if you pre-soak them overnight, but this is a very easy and quick recipe. So make it and you would love it, I'm sure. And if you do, let me know. Arrivederci, grazie, and as always, buon appetito. Ciao ciao.